more towards policy because in general it feels like we're also discussing a lot of like, let's get some high level implementation details. You're like, how can we do this in Seattle? And you know, some of this stuff, it's like permaculture. Maybe they work great in Seattle, freaking suck in Texas, and they just can't become sustainable and do it because of the environment or whatever. And so like the details of achieving these proposals, you know, is going to require expert advice, you
Totally.
know, and working groups and that type of stuff. And so I'm just trying to get like an understanding of like our goals in regards to these proposals and like
Good
form
question.
and shape of, you know.
Yeah, so for this meeting, we would want to, I don't think we want to spend too much time on the details. We want to spend a lot of time on giving a breadth so people feel like, oh my God, we're going to be talking about all the issues that matter to the nonviolent left. Yes, that's what we will be doing here.
Okay.
And so we don't need to get into 20 minutes on each one, but we do
Just
need to
that
throw
we
out a
would-
bunch of them.
You know, the goal is that we agree this is something that should be worked on. We don't know the solution, but we know that
We
this
don't
is
even have to
something-
all agree.
Okay.
It's a brainstorm.
Critical mass has to agree.
Eventually, we have to agree and get
In order to
enough of
actually
a critical mass has to agree. But we don't all have to agree tonight
Sure.
that all of these are important. Eventually, we don't do them if we don't have enough people to win, right? But if we have enough people, we don't have to. Even if it takes, suppose we have 10,000 people represented by the spokes council, and we only need 2,000 to do one of these issues. We'll do it. Unless people have a strong objection to it, and I doubt that they will. I mean, even if your thing isn't transportation reform, you're not against it most likely, right? You'd want to work on something else, but whatever.
I was thinking something that's very important for the economy, but also for the individual, is entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add that to the list
Yeah.
because the more we can find or create sustainable type of jobs, the more people out there don't have to be a part of a big corporation. They can be doing their own thing and offering something that's sort of specialized to their own capabilities. And I think we don't have enough of it. We don't have enough entrepreneurship. And we're stuck in working for Amazon or Google, you know, to make a buck.
Right.
And there are some entrepreneurs that are making way over that.
Totally. You know how they handle that in some country in Europe? I can't remember if it's Holland. It might be Holland. Is they just say, look, you're not allowed to have more than one outlet for any store. There's no franchising. Period.
Nice.
In the whole country, there's no franchises. There's only one McDonald's. It's one store. And that would handle a lot of that, right? I mean, people would have their own businesses.
So that would have to start in schools. In
Well,
other
it could be a
words,
law.
It would, no, but my point in saying is it would grow the kids to have an open eye toward what they can do and do well on their own. So when they get out of high school, they instantly can start doing something they want and something that actually makes money for them. What if you had to start your business in high school? And when you walked out the door, you were already making money.
There are high schools now that are actually doing internships as part of high school.
That's
Place
true.
in the workforce.
That's really,
That's exciting.
yeah.
Let's keep brainstorming. I like that. Maybe you should write something about the school part of it as a sub part. What would that be called? Vocational training? Apprenticeships?
That's what it
I
used to
really
be.
like entrepreneur education.
Okay, we should put in education also.
Educational
Including education.
entrepreneurship. Because if it doesn't start early, everyone's going to be, you know, at a loss when they need it most. You know, when they walk out into the world and they go, what do I do?
And support for wisdom. You know, I
Oh, hold on,
what? Support for wisdom. So having, you know, we've got power up there, we've got money up there, the fame. We've talked about getting this online. That's kind of out there, but support for the wisdom. I would like to see as well, like, you know, where is, you know, maybe a book where, you know, some people want to book where, build character structures, build character structures in themselves. You know, a lot of activity can make things happen and can allow things to occur that are needed. Some people would like to build the character of the left as well.
Sure. So what, like wisdom councils, schools, what do they call it when people, teach-ins, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like a teaching and stuff. Things,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm hearing two things. Like, one is community building. I mean, you're talking about activities and getting people like working together and building camaraderie and that type of stuff. But you're also talking about, I mean, you say wisdom. It's like a good idea can come from anywhere, like connecting people.
Yeah, so
to,
like we talked about earlier, sustainability, we were talking about breaking down sustainability. Have a whole night of sustainability, systeming, and awareness. Happiness, development, and immersion. Justice, presentation, cause, movements to support that which, you know, could bring back into the conversation with those people coming back in, you know, oh, we've got 5 book readers that are going out and reading 3 books between meetings and coming back with a mass amount of information that can be utilized for connecting, understanding about the injustices, the brokenness,
Sure, you integrate an understanding into the culture, and it'll just naturally, that's the actions that people will do because they understand this is the right thing to do. This is what we've grown to learn about and do.
Okay, so let's put teach-ins. That's an old 60s thing, but it's like super good. Under support wisdom, it's like, and just so you know, there's 2 kinds of circles. There's governance circles, and they're the ones where they decide what's going to be done. And then every other kind of circle is called a working group. That's where everyone's doing what they do. And a wisdom circle is a working group, but we're working on trying to get more ideas. And then there's the working group on transportation, there's the working group on education, there's the working group on IT. And all those people are sending reps into the governance circles and saying, hey, we recommend that we do X, Y, and Z.
I think that you said the information that UW is doing intelligence, you know, support. You know, that they're doing an intelligence. So wisdom, just to be clear, wisdom different from intelligence.
Sure.
They're doing that, so, you know, getting people out there that are, you know, doing the analytical work and making sure that everybody knows what's going on and what is happening. People are out there doing this, so maybe, you know, reaching out to them a little more.
Yeah, part of measurement will go to, I'd say, a connection between measurement and intelligence.
Okay.
The measurement is gathering the information of understanding what's actually happening. That is providing intelligence so that we can tell whether or not we're moving in the right direction or not.
So then, yeah.
Yeah, totally. More ideas. Let's.
And that, and measurement, and what do you say? I want to say public surveys. So,
get together.
Hold on. We have 2 things going at once here. Let's pick one because we are on camera.
okay, okay, good. Okay, so I was going to say public surveys as a form of measuring, getting a pulse of what people are responsive to and what you know, like to say, we said, how do you feel about permaculture, and get some information from neighbors and see where they have those resistances. Cool. It could be formal or informal. I mean, I kind of like the idea of it not being just like A, B, you know, questionnaire, yes, no, blah, blah. You know, so it's a little more being present, maybe just canvassing your neighborhood and making, can I find meeting your neighbors? So it would be a multi-purpose type of service. You'd actually get to know your neighbors, the feeling, establish some a rapport.
public surveys.
Door-to-door survey.
Which
I
also may
think
be
public
a-
surveys is good.
Not to say that I want to, but yeah, influence. But when I say influence, I mean you can create a field, your field, and then can you bring that flow to the people in your neighborhood? It might begin to change where they think where they might be stuck, and they go, oh, maybe there are options. Maybe there is something happening. Maybe there is other possibilities. So,
Right.
and making those questions, and taking that survey, you can be accomplishing more than one thing.
I love that. That's super important in consent too.
Yeah.
You've got to have the mechanism
Absolutely.
to hear how people feel and get their ideas. Brilliant. What else?
Under education, I was thinking social education would be pretty wonderful. What I have noticed is that there's all of that spectrum going on, and we want to be more nonviolent and progressive. And in order to do that, a social education would teach the difference between, for example, tenderness and rape,
Right.
or the difference between having a discussion and an argument.
Nice.
And I think that, again, has got to start really young. That's education.
Right. And it's related to vulnerability too, because like a lot of what you're talking about is learning how to be vulnerable rather than rapey.
Exactly.
Cool. I love that. Super important.
I just thought when you said that, and also the difference between agreement and a contract. My feeling is that an agreement is like saying, yes, I would love to do that. Yes, I would love to do that. A contract is like, so, contracts seem to arise out of fear. This is to assure that you don't do this or that, or you know what I mean? So there's a different feel between an agreement, a mutual agreement, and a contract that
How do you
prevents.
make that attractive to
Hmm?
people? How do you actually make it attractive to people?
Mhm.
So that last, just going over the top becomes kind of stupid, kind of useless. It doesn't make anything move forward.
Yeah.
And when that light bulb goes off, wow, progress, even one-to-one. But I think massively, if that were the case, we wouldn't even have this much plastic in the universe. It would already have been taken care of.
The notion of critical masses and whether or not we have enough people do this, it's interesting because, I feel like right now we have 50% of Democrats,
More or
Maybe it's,
less.
and so regardless of who's the president or whatever, if we continue with that movement, we continue activating those people, we continue communicating with them, which feels like is what the goal is. Then we can start working on these issues and actually have the energy behind it necessary to actually do something about it.
So what's your point?
That we're close. That we have the critical mass. We have the people behind this already. They're just not connected. We just need to give them
Right.
a method of communicating together, connecting, so that they realize that, we have made a decision together. We do have critical mass. We can start acting on
Right.
this. How do we get into the working groups that are working on this particular issue?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you propose to do that?
That's what we're doing right now.
That's what this meeting is about. That's what this is about.
Right.
That's what a spokes council is. The spokes come in and they make the wheel roll.
Right. So this is step one. Step two, I don't know. We need to come up with a proposal for what step two is. But my proposal for step two in the past has been that you go out, you find 3 people to have conversations about this. You show them this list, and you see what resonates with them, and you prioritize. And you say, these are the things that these people are about. You discuss, you get the energy going,
Yeah.
you bring that energy back. You do that a couple times, maybe they get energized enough that then they start doing it with another group of 4 people, and so it grows out that way. You know, it's kind of like a tree branches.
So I have a system, so I went up to Seattle University and took a systems awareness class. It was about, regardless of how much it is, there's a system that may fit for what you're talking about. It's a system of growth and underdevelopment.
Growth and what?
And underdevelopment.
Uh-huh.
So it states that if the demand, which we know through today's culture and how many people supported Bernie, regardless, we know they're out there, is outstripped by our capacity, which this is a rock solid, but we certainly couldn't serve 3,500 people with this, is suffering, then we hurt the demand. So it's a dynamic that is not recognized, decrease the demand, hold on. If this dynamic is not recognized, the decrease in demand can be used as a reason not to invest in the capacity. So growth and underdevelopment can be used to ensure the investment decisions are viewed from a fresh perspective rather than relying on a past decision. Would you like to go in there, or maybe escalation, which is managing competition, and that would include maybe finding who belongs to these components and get a list together for reaching out to them.
So do them one at a time kind of thing?
We could. I think that it would be beneficial to our process to systematize this to either grow and or to further escalate.
I think you're right about that, because some people are not, they're not gonna want to do anything about transportation. They're not gonna want to do anything about plastics, you know, but they might be really into, you know, parent accountability for child conduct.
Totally.
So could I forward this then? Would that be what I hear?
Well, you need
Sure, yeah.
for me, you need to say it again,
Without
because I'm
developing-
I'm a little stupider than the average
When
person.
you say forward it, I mean, you're saying if you want to
So
share it
just-
with the group,
Yeah,
this
begin
is
to
a link to
process-
this information, sure.
Process this to move this forward to our next step.
Well, I think we need more people to come to consensus on, you know, what the next action is. But I think we can decide together what we want to do next with this information.
And that would be what totally open in this next step.
Sure.
Okay.
You were reading, and can you say it without reading it so it's really super clear to me? Because I'm a little dumb.
So it would take a little bit of writing for us to all come to consensus, but basically mapping out who belongs to, for the escalation, mapping out who belongs to these, and then finding out what our barriers are to getting out to them, and then getting beyond the barriers so that we can get out to invite more people out to another thing.
How do
When
we
you-
dig this thing?
When you say who belongs to these, which of us are in support of each of these?
No, in
Outside of
community.
the group.
So
Yeah.
with permaculture, for example, you have sustainable Northeast Sustainable, you have Seattle Tilt, you have all the sustainable groups.
There's all these groups out there already,
There's
sure.
permaculture groups. So those are groups. The question is what do we when we reach out to them? What is it that we're going to say, or what is it that we're asking of them, or to participate, or so yeah.
Well,
So I can see that as a step.
I mean, the proposals that have come up with this system is that, so there's a group of people and a group of activists or whatever groups, you know, people's concerned citizens behind each of these that are already having these conversations. And so if we just go to them and say, okay, we just want to work on this, just say, well, we're working on this already. So we need to bring something to the table. And what we're bringing to the table is that we're going to unite all the groups and take turns working on each one. So we're bringing them the critical mass that they don't have.
We're bringing power.
If they had critical mass and power, they would have achieved their goals, and they're not achieving their goals. Everyone's just working on their own separate goals, and not, maybe they're making incremental progress, but it's not fast enough, you know.
And to do so, we'd have to recognize the failures of each one of those and look into reevaluating some competitiveness. So vulnerability. What is the opposition of vulnerability? It's closed-mindedness. And then from closed-mindedness, how would we again open that up? Where was the competitive measure for closed-mindedness? We are going to do a truth
And reconciliation.
Truth and reconciliation
Commission.
flow to express our deepest wounds so that we can have vulnerability emerge. And by going into the wound, the hurt, the pain, and all this stuff, the vulnerability opens up. Okay, who do we go to for hurt and pain and da-da-da-da-da?
Right.
Permaculture. Okay, permaculture. We're at a Coca-Cola, McDonald's, wear and throw away society, and we want to get out to people that are engaged in permaculture. But who do we go to get permaculture? And what is our answer? Well, permaculture kind of is the answer, right? But what is the answer to the Coca-Cola? Like, can we bring people in to do one of the gifts of the, it's going to be a mocktail night. You're going to learn how to make all organic drink, bring $5, and then we're going to talk about permaculture, and you're going to get away from Coca-Cola, or learn to plant something.
So, creating events and education and awareness so that people who maybe this one isn't, they've heard of permaculture, but really they're all about, getting rid of plastics, and that's what their priority is.
What are the talking points, I think? What are the talking points for each of those? If I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say, well, I think permaculture is so important, everyone's going to go, uh-huh. But why? And why is it not happening so that you're talking about, you're going from the other direction, from Coca-Cola? When you're going to say to Coca-Cola, what would you write in a letter to Coca-Cola? And to bring about permaculture.
Yeah, like
how about getting rid of plastic containers for their carrot juice?
Sometimes it might be, just asking them how do they want to participate, how do they want to be represented to the permaculturists? What are they going to be doing to make a difference? For the people on the other side, say, but so McDonald's, what are you going to do about do you have sustainable food products? And is this can you do something about this? Can you do something about this? In your community, would you consider
into it, even though they're totally out of it right now? That's great. That's great.
So for me, we could be doing this for all of these things, but people only have so much time and energy and resources. They're not going to be able to go and get educated on all of these things and then have the time to participate. Like, there has to be some sort of prioritization in my mind. And so my proposal is finding